include us. That's one of the big things. Not to just have us as tokens at a table. So, when you're having your decision making, when you're having your meetings, involve us. I'm not saying to involve young people to just have us at the table.
Hello, elevators. Thank you once again for joining me here on the Elevator Live with Odin. Here on the Elevator Live, I bring to you stories of success, stories of motivation, as we seek to retake the narrative about young people. This week, I bring to you another story of success and inspiration. I have with me this week on Elevator Live Miss Sabrina Barnes. Miss Sabrina Barnes is a trailblazer in her own right. She's a student leader and a youth leader. And these are the kind of persons that I feature on the Elevator Live. So thank you, Miss Barnes, for joining me here on the Elevator Live. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm coming home from school, so but I'm doing well otherwise.
Perfect. Good to hear. So, share with our elevators who is Sabrina Barnes.
Um, who is Sabrina? Sabrina is just, a typical high school student that wants to see a lot of change in her community and in her country. So, she's going to try to be that change and try to, allow that change to be brought forth to reality. So I'm a typical high school student. I don't think I'm much different from anybody else. But the difference between me and many other high school students is that I definitely meet that change my responsibility, that volunteerism and service. I always try to offer that. So typical high school student, typical teenager. Yeah.
You are definitely not a regular high school student, but you made you made the point about volunteerism. Share with our listeners what motivates that zeal for volunteerism.
So to be honest, I think it's really intrinsic. I don't think there's something out there that really motivates myself. For one, there's this saying that, or just a regular saying that we always have that somebody needs to do this, somebody has to do this. But sometimes when you do that introspection, probably you are that person who has to do it. So every time, you blame probably the government or you blame your parents or you blame somebody, we're always trying to play that blame game. However, sometimes it's time for us to take accountability, even if it's not us that's causing the issues. Sometimes we can promote the solution to those issues. So it's just saying that, guess what? I'm not going to blame anybody. I'm just going to be a part of the change. So when you figure out that that someone is you, then definitely think that's enough inspiration to
Abs-
do to do the good.
Absolutely. And that's what we do here on the Elevator Live. We showcase change makers who are really doing extraordinary work in their community. So I would like to for you to share with us some of your different involvements because from your bio you are a very active individual. I wonder how do you manage all of these activities? So share with us some of your involvements.
Well, in school, I'm the student council president. So, I advocate on behalf of the students, being a member of our board. I'm also the peer council president, which means I cater for the student population, psychosocially, emotionally, promoting mental health, promoting self-care. I'm also the culture society president, which means I run the vibes and the energy and I lift the school spirit. I'm also a part of our school's inter-schools Christian fellowship, allowing students to have a faith. Um, I'm also a member of our choir, sing. I do everything related to school spirit, school involvement. And local vibes matter, so I MC most of our school events, ensure that it's vibes and energy. I connect with my student body very well. So, yes. And recently, I took up table tennis. I've had a sport too to keep myself so well-rounded and stuff. Outside of school, however, I am the Region 5 Secretary P.R.O for the National Secondary Students Council. So that's the big student council nationally. And I work with Region 5, that's all the schools in Manchester and St. Elizabeth.
Oh,
And yes, I also do a lot of advocacy like outside of school with youth groups in Manchester and with a big youth organization under the arm of Advocacy Network. So basically, Advocacy Network is like a big advocacy group that advocates on all the social issues Jamaicans face. But there's a youth arm that I work well with. And, also work Jamaica Coalition Against Gender-Based Violence. So anything to do with advocacy and speaking on behalf of people, especially those in the isolated or, persons who definitely the vulnerable in our society that, needs a voice. They definitely, that's where I put myself. I have a lot more things to, put myself into because I don't want to limit myself. But for right now, those are the most important ones. I'm also a school prefect, but I'm not too big on the prefecture because I'm an advocate. So they
yes.
kind of don't work hand in hand every time. But definitely,
But
yes, I try to keep myself involved as much as I can.
you're doing quite a lot there. And what came out for me is the emphasis, and based on the roles that you're involved in, there seems to be a passion there for advocacy. Speak to us about the importance of advocacy, especially for young people, and how do you see advocacy as a means to achieve change?
All right. So that saying about young people, you are the future. You are the future. Oh my God, we're right now. We are right now. We're not just the future. We're right now. We have the brain capacity, we have the sense, we have the capabilities to make change right now. So why not start from now? Why wait until later? So advocacy really for us is not what you think is good for us, but what we want. I think for too long, our voices have been heard but not listened to. When you're listening, you actually act upon it, but when you're hearing, you just say, all right, go through 1 year, it's not come out. I feel for too long, our young people have been more a part of the problem than the solution. So it's really just changing that narrative. So I like to say that if you're not a part of the problem, then definitely you'll want to be a part of the solution. So you realize also young people are part of the problem now because they were not involved in the solution in the first place. So it's really just changing the approach of how young people are involved in our society. We hear them on the news, also the crime rates, most of them
Mm-hmm.
young people, scamming and all other social issues that we have affecting our citizens in Jamaica, the majority is that of the young people populace. So really what I would promote, what I like for other young people to promote, is just to change that narrative, to not be a part of the problem, but be a part of the solution. So that's where that whole advocacy thing comes in, because definitely you have to have a voice to speak on that. And also young people might not be interested right now. As I said before, they weren't included in the solution in the first place. So Sabrina took up like enough self and start the solution so other young people can join the solution so we won't be a part of the problem. So the truth is all of us have something in us to do good. And I can never see anybody as all bad. which is why I'm an advocate, because, and that's why I'm so passionate about even law, to represent people. And definitely, I believe that that's something that all young people should take up, not specifically advocacy, but being a part of advocacy. So even if you don't want to be the one speaking, be the one to offer your opinions, your complaints, speak up, start the conversation. And not only to start the conversation, but keep the conversation going. So it's not just an idea, but it's an impact as well. So I feel like advocacy is really important with our young people because it allows us to have a voice and use that voice. Having to be a trailblazer, go out in the road and block road and demonstrate we want to, you know. So definitely it's something that I love. I'm doing it for free. Literally nobody's paying me to do this. But definitely something that I'll do all day, every day. Time passes when I do it. I always speak on it because it's definitely something, that keeps me going and I can see the change. I always need to be optimistic about my future and the future that Jamaica should have for young people. So, yeah.
Important point, and especially for the maintenance and the rejuvenation of society, we have to get young people like yourself who are involved, who are passionate. But my next question would be, what do you think might be the cause for some young people not to be engaged in any form of advocacy? What are some of those factors?
As I said before, when you're excluded from the solution, you become the problem. I really think, and I'm not blaming, I never want to play the blame game, but I really think that our administration, as in our government and parliamentary entities, if they could meet most of the vulnerable young people halfway, and it would make the job easier for them to be interested. Because naturally, I have an interest in advocacy. However, some young people, especially those who are from fragile contexts, they would want to be met halfway there. They want the inspiration and the motivation to do what I'm doing. Because there are lots of young people who have the ability to do what I'm doing, but naturally won't just get up and volunteer. Now, the thing about it too is that there are so many young people in the country, and not all of them are going to be the same. So there's never going to be another Sabrina, that's just the truth. But there's not gonna be another person out there like me. So I'm never going to allow myself to be the standard and then allow everybody to come up to that standard. I really feel like if we try to appreciate the single entity of each young person there is, then it's better for them to apply themselves. Just like in school, you have a general syllabus, but sometimes the teachers have to meet specific students halfway there to put them up to the level of students who are well performing. So that's a similar approach that could, allow them to be, engaged in advocacy. Another thing too, advocacy tends to be linked with politics a lot in our country. And that's something that most young people realize and they'll shy away from because we all know the untold truth of politics and we all know the ins and outs of politics in our country and in the Caribbean. So to get young people to be a part of that movement, a part of that revolution, it's going to take some grooming. It's going to take some level of education as well as to what advocacy is and what it's not. Because definitely advocacy is not being anti-administration. Some of them think that it is. Advocacy is not fighting against, and it's not, being rude or explicit, being deviant or malicious. Is really applying a voice and being a part of the solution. So definitely once advocacy is stated to them what it is, and if they want to be a part of it, how they can be a part of it, and how you want to involve them. I think once they know how they can be involved, and once you see something in them, then I think more persons will come out and they'll start to do it. Especially when I started, I was in a room with a lot of Kingstonians, and I'm not from Kingston, I'm from Manchester. So the thing about it is that once we kind of, decentralize the corporate area somewhat, and to get young people from all over Jamaica, I mean, all 14 parishes, going to the grassroots too. I love those people because they give you the part of Jamaica that I think should be on stream. that natural, authentic, you know, yes, that the real Jamaica. I always say it, and I know it might sound weird, but going to Kingston, I love going to downtown Kingston, especially because when you hear the language, the culture, the voice, just the way of life of the people, how different it is from different section of Jamaica that's not highlighted. And I'm a performing arts student. So definitely when I hear certain things, I'm like, oh my God, it was so humorous, so funny, and just something that you'd enjoy. So it's really taking the right approach with them, meeting them halfway, having institutions dedicated to advocacy. Because as you can tell, it's really youth groups that are independently doing advocacy. There's not really a Jamaica association for advocacy, really. It's really those who see volunteerism and service as their purpose. And a lot of young people, again, they don't know what their purpose is in life. They're still really just there, trapped in a technological space and yet to come out. So until we find the answers to those lingering issues that we're yet to attack, then I think it's gonna be just a constant narrative that not many of them are going to be interested in.
Absolutely. But there is hope listening to you. Based on the work that you're doing, I can see you being a leading civil society voice on accountability issues of good governance within the country. And that leads me to my next question. I see that you are also an advocate for the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal. That for our elevators, that's really as a civil society group that prides itself as being a watchdog, if you could say, for governmental institutions to uphold the principles of good governance and a government that is working for the people. But share with our elevators some more about the work that you do with the Accountability Meter Portal and why is such an organization important?
Well, Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal really seeks to allow citizens to see something called transparency. So, as citizens in Jamaica, I think that's something that we deserve transparency with our governments and with the actual citizens themselves. I like to say that what we are achieving is for that mirror, so for the citizenship to reflect the government, for the government to reflect the citizen. And once there's not that flow, that connection, we're going to have issues. Once we are not told of things that are going to affect us in the future or currently, and it's going to affect us. So, as you said before, a watchdog, I just really feel like it's a civil society group that keeps the government in check. I mean, of course, we're going to need a body to keep the government in check. After all, they are the leaders above us. So definitely, I know that they have been starting a series of talk sessions about Jamaica becoming a republic, and that's an important civil education topic that many Jamaicans don't know about. They don't know much about their history either and things that are affecting them. So definitely, JAMP is definitely an association that I'm so glad I met them, and I'm so glad I could be a part of the conversation. I'm gonna say that I have no certain position, but definitely the fact that they allowed me as a young person to offer my voice and to be a part of their movement, and definitely that's something that is crucial and that's important. So I can get other young people to be educated or civil society. Because the truth is, there are some things that happened in the past that people forget and we just so-called move on from. But not until those things are corrected, then can we move forward to the future. So it's definitely a good group that keeps, the government in check, as you said, and allows Jamaicans to be aware and educated on certain things happening in the country.
Certainly. Continue to do that kind of work. My next question is within the same parameters of advocacy. What would you say are some of the things that the government can do to increase the confidence of young people to participate in the process?
Include us. That's one of the big things. Not to just have us as tokens at a table. So, when you're having your decision making, when you're having your meetings, involve us. I'm not saying to involve young people to just have us at the table, but make we eat our food too. Allow us to use our voices to offer suggestions. If we can do CXC and let me tell you, these exams aren't easy. After them are testing us on things that we're not going to use in life because I'm yet to use Y equal MX plus C. And I studied that for the Math 60 exam. If we are able to follow content upon content, know how much years at high school, go through life with life struggles and still become successful. You see the Jamaica stars, the Jamaica Guinea, you see also young people who are so great, doing so well out there. If we can do all of that and more, why can't we be a part of the decision making of the country, like the day-to-day operations of the country? If we realize, and if other young people realize that people like myself, my peers, and other people are in parliament or just in different meetings selected to represent young people, to have our voice there, youth inclusion, full participation, if that actually happens, then of course other young people are going to be motivated because I'm saying when I watch Sabrina, there's some can there too. It's really that domino effect that's going to happen. But until that happens, then I don't think they will be motivated as much.
I certainly agree. We have to correct that tokenistic approach. And it is not about young people wanting a photo op. It's much more than
Right.
that. We want to be seen as being serious stakeholders that must be engaged. So important points you have raised there. So as we come down to the end of the conversation, I want to get from you what's next for you. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? For me, definitely, and I'm sure the elevators, we see you being a leading advocate voice in Jamaica, leading some robust discussions in Parliament. Where do you see yourself?
I really don't like to share goals. I really like to share outcomes. However, to be honest, I'm I'm just 17 as lower six student. Where I see myself in 5 years, obviously in university. I don't want to work at 9 to 5 because I don't want to limit myself after high school. I really think that there's so much more I can do. As you said, I definitely feel like there's more I can offer. Read my voice, read my advocacy, just read things that I can do in the country. So the philanthropy will heighten. Definitely, I'll do a lot of outreach. I love to do charities and donations and just be a part of that change too, allowing all persons from fragile contexts to be up to par. But in the next 5 years, I'll be what, 20, 21, 22 thereabouts. I'll be a university student. I'll definitely be more active, do a lot of more things, apply myself and get other young people with me. Because as a youth leader, I don't want to attain followers. I want to share the platform to create more leaders. And I think that's the narrative I want to share with other leaders too. As you said, not for us to be tokenistic or to get photo ops or to just take the opportunities for ourselves, but to share the platforms with others. I wouldn't mind to be that leader that creates leaders and just step aside and just watch them grow and flourish and watch them take charge. Because the only thing I want to promote is that youth inclusion, that full participation, that youth march. I wouldn't mind if I wake up tomorrow and hear that the Prime Minister of Jamaica is like 17 years old. Like, I'd want to hear that. Or like a youth Prime Minister. You know what I mean? Yeah, something like that. Allowing our young people to take charge. Because as I said before, if we are involved in the solution, we won't be the problem. So definitely in the next 5 years, I hope to do so much more to contribute more to my country, my community, and my school community. Definitely to evolve more as a person, to mature into an adult that is responsible and that takes other persons similar to my age, my peers, to be responsible as well. It's just helping myself while helping others and fulfilling that purpose. So I'm not too sure what university will have me, what course I will be doing, because really I wanted the performing arts, mass communications, I want to do law. I can do so much and I can apply myself, and I would love to be a woman in IT. Is it a woman in IT? That's off. But I definitely I want to apply myself, and I never want to limit myself. In the next 5 years, I might be doing what I want and even more. Never going to limit myself. So definitely the 5 years, they're looking optimistic and it's looking something good for myself and persons who are around me. So
Certainly, and I can say that the 5 years definitely looks very promising. You just have to continue with the same energy, the same focus on advocacy, on advancing the welfare of the whole human race as it is. So it was really good talking with you, Sabrina, and I'm sure our elevators would also enjoyed the discussion. So we wish you all the best, and we will definitely continue to monitor your progress as well as the work that you're doing. So thank you so much for being with me on the Elevator Live. Any closing words that you have for our elevators?
well, I mean, if you're between the age of, you're considered a young person from what, 1 to 25, right? Yes, because our baby have voice, that once, yeah, between the age of 1 to 25, and there's something that you want to do, something that is going to benefit others, the community, the country, go ahead and do it. Share your voice, share your opinions, be a part of the solution. So that's all I have to say. And you're not the future, you're right
You're
now. But
you're the present. What a
right.
positive note to end there. Thank you for joining us for this second episode.
Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Thanks to our listeners for joining us for the second episode of the Elevator Live with Odin. Here we bring you positive stories of motivation and inspiration. Stay tuned, you don't know who the next guest might be. Continue to listen for updates.